Welcome again to the Lascoumet Kitchen Cafe. You can probably tell by my change of apparel, from dresses to trans-seasonal knitwear, that we're now in November, and first snows up on the mountains that I can see outside here. So the winds coming in are a bit more chill, but it's still very beautiful. But more 4 seasons in one day and less constant summertime. I really enjoy the changes in the seasons. There's something about living with the seasons, and here in France, people tend to cook with the seasons as well. So what you buy in the shops is different, and the whole mood changes at this time of year. Anyway, I'm here to introduce the most fantastic Soleira Green. So just let me get up Soleira's biography for you. So Soleira Green is a future innovator, quantum coach, and author. She's passionate about sourcing a brilliant and unprecedented future for this world. And she's given me her internet address. It's www.soleiragreen.com. Please go and have a look. Now, the thing with asking Soleira to put her biography into 2 sentences is that it's just not possible. I have no idea what we're going to talk about, because this woman is absolutely awesome. And people will know I say that very rarely. So Soleira, welcome to the Kitchen Cafe.
Thank you. It's great to be with you again, Hilary. I just love our conversations. We did one on innovation at the beginning of 2021 together, and that was just so exciting. I love it.
But the year, we were just saying that we're in some kind of weird time parallax at the moment, because time is passing so quickly but so slowly, and this half an hour will disappear. But yes, it's been a long time since we've been in a Zoom together, but it feels like 5 minutes.
Yeah, amazing.
So tell me about your year. What have you been doing? You've been writing this year. You've been authoring more than ever before.
I now have 10 books published.
Fantastic.
2 more in the wings. The latest one is called Becoming Infinite.
Becoming Infinite.
Yeah, it's you know, we're quantum leaping, evolutionary, like beyond what would normally be our normal evolutionary pathways, you know, and we're sourcing that, as well as, you know, there's all the solar flares and the Schumann resonance, and all of that stuff is helping, and I'm sure there's many more factors than that. But, you know, I host a group that's a consciousness innovation group, and we are constantly working on the energy, the consciousness, the vibration, the new possibilities for the planet, and how we then take those as consciousness breakthroughs and then embed them in ourselves as a living experience, and embed them in our lives as a practical template. And then how do we see that morphing in the world and move things in the world as well? So those are some of the things I've been up to this year.
Some of the things. Just it amazes me every time that such a tiny human can encompass such enormous ambition for what you can do during this lifetime, and others can as well.
Yeah, I have often referred to myself as Mighty Mouse.
Mouse wouldn't have been a word I'd have used for you. But no, you've been writing this week.
For a 5'2" woman.
Yes, oh, it's certainly mighty, my darling, certainly mighty. But this week you've been writing, the title was Catastrophe or Transcendence? Yes. How do we view the state of the world? And I think that's, all of this is very appropriate. We've just been talking about the COP 21 conference.
26.
21, 26.
Yeah. So the climate change conference has just been happening in the UK. It just kind of ended this week. And if you, because I follow all different views of that, you know, I get the news from the newspaper, and I get Greta Thunberg, and I get Zach Bush, he was there, and, you know, all these kinds of things. So I get different angles. And we were working on it in the Consciousness Innovators group last week. And I had this feeling, you know, when you tap consciousness and you can see the potential and possibilities of something that isn't yet. And that's one of my favorite things to do. What isn't yet that wants to be? And I said at the time, this was last Tuesday, so it was all still in progress. I said at the time, I think what's going to happen is there's indigenous people there. There's people from all around the world. There's young activists who are forming a whole climate piece. There's Zach Bush, who does amazing, wonderful things. If you don't know Dr. Zach Bush and all the work he's been doing, but he was there as well. And I said, they're they're all going to collaborate. It's, it's going to come from the people as opposed to from the governments. The governments do need to do some things, and we're singing that up too. But I thought the real breakthrough here is going to come from the collaboration of all the forces of the people marshaling together. So sure enough, yesterday, they did a big march all over the world, different cities, but especially in Glasgow. They had over 100,000 people in Glasgow. And today, unplanned, I believe, they're doing a conference of all those players and introducing, you'll love this, all new technological solutions and innovations that can help us get there. And so they're starting to pull themselves together as a collaboration. And I was like, yes.
Because that's the future, that the future, in my view, it isn't going to be about the current leadership. It will be about those of us who are most affected actually taking action for ourselves.
Absolutely.
And taking the time to, I very, very much dislike the term woke, but it's about, because it's become used so pejoratively, but it is about taking the opportunity to look at things differently.
Yeah.
To become aware of things you weren't aware of before, to go and explore what isn't, but what wants to be. That's a lovely way of describing it.
Well, it's interesting because they're all talking about fossil fuels and all that stuff, and I think, and they're all like going to net zero by 2050, which is a bit crazy, given it needs to happen now. But the thing is, the new technology is already here.
Yeah.
To replace all that, and as soon as that gets mainstream, which it now is. I mean, 10 years ago, it was hard to get it into the public view, but now electric cars are coming out. I just saw this wonderful thing. I just posted it into my group, Future Fantastic, on Facebook. Somebody is just creating a pod for 2 people, which can run on the road, run on water, or fly.
Or fly.
It can pull out wings and helicopter it. It can put down a thing in the water and you can you direct it, or it can go on wheels on the road. And it's just a tiny little pod for 2 people. Brilliant. And I think, oh my God, we're there. Here we go. This is the future we've seen for a long time.
The science fiction is becoming science reality.
Yeah. And there's a lot of stuff like that. If anybody wants to look at that Future Fantastic group, it's an open public group. You can just scan all the new technology innovations. There's so many of them. And all the farmers here in the UK, and I think around the world, they're starting to realize, no, pesticides aren't the answer. Regenerative soil and nutrients and caring for it in a different way, and the rise of nature, is coming. And then, of course, in our consciousness innovation group, what we do is we recognize the miraculousness of earth and nature, and we accelerate that miraculousness so that it can quantum leap into new solutions that we haven't seen yet. So all the predictions of by scientists of this by then and and it's irreversible. And I think, well, nature is just so miraculous.
She's strong. Yes. She's strong, but she needs our help.
Yeah, well, we do absolutely need to get more super conscious about our relationship with everything. And, but, here I live in the UK in a smallish town. And here, it's practically everything is recycled. It's picked up at the door. We get organic food, and delivered straight to the door from Riverford Organics. And
you lucky thing, yes.
And we go to the organic food shop and do our weekly shop and get fresh, beautiful organic veg. And, I look at it here as really quite a good example of kind of where we're going and how things are. And I know there's room for a lot of improvement in the world all over the place. I get that. But
we have tipping points, don't we? We reach a point where it becomes the normal, and then it becomes an awful lot easier. But the organic movement here in France is fantastic. There's much more than there was when we left the UK. And I garden organically here, and there's nothing more joyful for me than filling a basket full from my veg garden, bringing in and making food for the guests, because that's the ultimate in no food miles.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's brilliant what's happening. I mean, and then if I also talk about it as what's happening with us as people on Earth, and what's happening with the consciousness, that's a whole other view. So with the consciousness, where 20 years ago, 25 years ago, when I really was getting into all this and didn't have a clue about any of it, I would say to connect with consciousness, you had to go way out there somewhere to kind of find something higher, better, you know, whether it was meditation, whether it was channeling, whatever version we called that.
Yeah.
But one of the things we've done over the last, and I don't mean just me and my buddies, I mean globally, a lot of people have that. We've brought that present. So the air now is the quantum field. The air we breathe has all the possibilities in it, has all the genius ideas just floating around, waiting for us to breathe them in and take them and use them. And, you know, it's so much more evolved than it was.
Yeah.
And for us, the quantum evolution of humans is extraordinary. I don't know whether everybody would say that just yet. You know, it depends on looking around. You can look around and say, oh my God, the world's in a mess. But if you look from a different place, if you look from where I'm looking from, and I see all the people I know are just quantum leaping into this clarity, connectedness with life, with animals, with nature, with a kind of care and kindness. It's not a soft thing. It's a very active, brilliant, powerful thing. It's kind of kindness as a superpower, you know, like that's my term for it. And if you look at all that and you see more and more people coming into that, what I call superconscious state, and the whole concept of animals, oh my God, like I would have said 10 years ago, I hardly paid any attention. And if you asked me to go swim in the ocean or walk through a forest, I might have had some concerns about that, my safety. I don't swim very well and all that stuff, you know. But now there's all these photographers going down into the deep ocean and showing us this myriad of amazing, miraculous creatures. Yes. And then there's the
behaviors. Did you see that film, The My Octopus Teacher?
Yes.
Absolutely amazing. If you spend time with them, there's just so much more than we ever knew.
There's no doubt now. You cannot deny the superconscious sentiency of animals. That anybody who tries to deny that to me, I would say, are you nuts? Because look at the Rainbow Warrior ship, the Greenpeace ship that just sailed into Glasgow.
Yeah.
There was a dolphin going along beside it, leading the way in. I mean, holy jumping. How did that happen? Other than you've got a super conscious sentient species saying, we'll come help. That wasn't just some
we'll make a point for you. Yes.
Yeah. You know, like, and that's a big shift for the world to get. And a lot of us are getting it, you know, and the photographers and the deep sea divers and the people who love the oceans and love the trees. And we're the last 2 to 3 years has just burst all that onto the scene. So our respect, our love for the earth is just growing and growing and growing. And I think it's really hard to not experience that.
Well, it's kind of linking up the very old with the very modern, that you're saying the indigenous peoples, very shamanic traditions, and the shamanic traditions all respect the power of nature, of animals, of all kinds, the power of the rocks. That was all part of their understanding of their part in nature.
Absolutely.
It's almost like that's being integrated into, rather than being set aside as old folklore. People are starting to understand that it wasn't actually. They knew things that we forgot.
Exactly. And the sense of what I'm going to call it, our knowing, I might also call it infinite intelligence. We're tapping infinite intelligence and what I call the infinite intelligence design system. That which originates creation, that which offers us possibilities that don't exist yet. We're now being able to embody that and to use it practically in all kinds of ways. Like for me, that's really, I've been at it for 25 years now, but oh my gosh, this last year has just been like a whole other level of being able to see the quantum field, to activate possibilities and actualize them into realities. That's why I call myself a future innovator, because our ability to collectively source unprecedented, brilliant new futures is so powerfully here now. That's my great love.
Is what gets both of us up in the morning, because we've both had the great privilege of working with, and the word genius comes out in our conversations a lot, those people who are just able to see past, to see into what isn't there, and form it to make something real out of something that was in their head.
Yeah, absolutely.
It has been a great privilege of my life to work alongside so many amazing people who can do that.
Absolutely. There are some really brilliant geniuses on this world. And I believe everybody has genius in them, not just, a spectacular few, prodigies. No, everybody. Every single person, every single animal, every single ocean and forest and mountain. And, there's a contribution to us all that is extraordinary, that is often left untapped. And it's that I'm at work on, to bring that forth in people, And so I would say, in talking about this catastrophe versus transcendence, for people, and I understand why people are just so down in the dumps about it. The climate's been heating up, the politics are crazy, the COVID stuff over the last year and a half, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, you can just look all over the place. You could say, but at the same time, here's all this other movement happening. And because what's happening with us is that we're now really connected into the field of creation of us. And so if you're one of those people who is plugged into that field and you're choosing to look at it in despair, then what happens is, like, you're tethered into the quantum field and you're going into despair. Now, it won't pull it down because we got this thing, turn it out, I'm not saying that it will, but you have to realize that that's not the contribution you want to make. The contribution you want to make is like this. You want to come into the creation of us and bring whatever your genius, your passion, your unique contribution is into the game, and in a very exhilarated, exciting, passionate way and fun way. I want to say too, it's good. Always. I think if it's not fun, don't do it.
Yep.
I used to talk a lot about being a visionary, and I found that people who were moving into the visionary status, it got very heavy for them, because it was so big and you had to take on the world and you had to fight against systems. And I think what you don't do that. So I don't call it visionary anymore. I would call it quantum creation. And what happens?
But it's all about co-creation, and it comes back to your point at Glasgow, that you get the people thinking the same way together in a space, and something miraculous happens.
Collaborative genius fusion. It's my name for that.
For one individual trying to,
collaborators can do, like, breathtakingly.
Yes.
And I've been working on that for quite a while now with groups of consciousness innovators. And that's why I call it collaborative genius fusion, because what happens when we get together, we're not following one person's guidance or directives. It's what each one brings uniquely into the creation, and everything gets used. In the green light stuff gets thrown. Oh, well, no, that won't work. That won't work. This is a good idea. But in collaborative genius fusion, everything gets used.
Yes.
And what pops out of the top of it is something more extraordinary than any one of the particular ideas, but they're all included.
Yes.
Yeah.
And everybody's strength is recognized, and that person feels heard and feels stronger and feels part of the thing that's been created.
Absolutely. So you can see why I feel really good about what's happening right now, and of course I know we're being hit this past week with major solar flares. And huge Schumann resonance so high in the last while that it's gone off the measurement scales of Schumann resonance-ness. And so that causes a lot of people talk about, oh, headaches and dizziness and tiredness, and it can do that. And I recognize even that sometimes in myself, where I just don't have as much oomph some days as I might have the other.
Yeah.
And then I realize, oh, there's been a solar flare. Okay. But what I've learned to do is don't judge it, relax into it and enjoy it. And as if I do that, then it doesn't get troublesome for me. It's like, oh, an easy day, and I'll do something light instead of pushing myself to do something else.
Yes,
And
it's
that
going
is,
with what is. I'm hoping that Lily, you need to get your headphones sorted out. I've got a conversation coming up with Lily Hardbeck, and one of the things that we talk about is being with what is.
yeah,
In this moment, this is where we are. We accept what this is, and we sit with it,
yeah,
and we see what it allows us to do today. On the
yeah.
days when what is big, we do big things. On the day when what is small, we do small things. But
Yeah,
we
exactly.
don't fight it.
Yeah. And on the days when there is a what wants to be new now, waiting,
We go there.
those are off the charts buzzing days,
Yeah.
And we all find that we're all like wide awake and buzzing with energy and excited to play. And I love days like that. And I have a lot of them, I have to say. I'm very fortunate because I'm always oriented to what's the next new possibility of us all.
It's a great way to live life, because you're waking up every day expecting good.
Absolutely. And what's really wonderful about that is that because that's how I hold reality, that's all that shows up in my reality.
Yes.
It's fascinating. Somebody today said to me, oh, my life is, like chaos kind of thing. And I thought, and she believes that, but even if those same things were happening to me, I would hold it differently.
Yes.
I would hold it that, oh, there's the opportunity from this. Like we were talking earlier about, my husband had a triple heart bypass surgery in March.
Yeah.
And for me, I went through that pretty okay, I have to say. It was, most people would be traumatized by it, and I wasn't.
Yeah.
And for me, the moment he went in the hospital, and of course, because of COVID, you couldn't go. So I was having to have phone calls with him when I could get him. I just called all my consciousness buddies and went, what's the work?
We held you and we held him.
Yeah. And did the biggest work possible coming from him having that experience. And as a result, this week, we're about to have an exploration call on the new miraculous physicality.
There you go. So you out of the chaos. Well, you can think of it as chaos or flux.
Yeah.
And flux isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's just things moving. It's what a river does all the time.
I think chaos is when we simply don't understand the potential of the moment.
Yeah.
And when you understand the potential of the moment, chaos ceases to be chaos.
Well, it ceases to be scary.
And you move into being able to source creation with it. And that's the key to catastrophe or transcendence, how we view the world. Is if you can understand it from a different angle, if you can, and then you can find the source of power in yourself to be able to create the world, then everything feels very different. And that's one of the things I think that where we were once consciousness people who were like way out there, and everybody thought we were weird and crazy and woo-woo, right? And now
I'm always going to be weird and crazy. It's one of my superpowers, because I don't care.
I'm always leaping to the next, but it's all right here. And we're able to use it brilliantly in a co-creational way now to source reality, to source our lives, to source brilliance, to source genius in the world, to get things to turn out differently. I love that. I just love it.
And every one of us we bring over to the light side adds to the weight of gloriousness that's going on.
There's a lot of people now on that light side.
A
lot. Like the news and all that can hit us with all the fear they want. It doesn't put a dent in things for us. It just doesn't. sit in a completely different place with it all, you know?
Yes, I am holding space for a few friends who are in that in the dark place at the moment. They are troubled by what they're seeing. They
I know.
see control where I see expediency, and there's
Yeah.
it must be very bad place to be right now.
Yeah. Oh, I
To
get it.
be seeing all of the darkness and not being able to see the light and how we get out.
And I completely get it. Very sympathetic
Yeah,
to, I can see how that view can be held by so many.
yeah,
But once you make that flip into, you understand that you are a source of a new kind of life power that
yeah.
can create, and that you can innovate with that in all kinds of ways, not just technologically, but in
No,
consciousness, in reality, in life, and in your work and your
in your
writings.
relationships, in just how you turn up in the world every day.
Yeah. And once you get that,
Yeah.
then it all looks very different. You don't feel at the whim of something else in control of you. You recognize that we are becoming source creators.
Yeah.
And no matter what happens out there, we will source create something brilliant out of it. You know, that's who
Because
we
it
are.
cannot be any other way.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's back to nature, that nature at the end will have her way and it will be beautiful.
Yes.
Humanity, if we get it wrong, we may be casualties of that, but nature will be fine. She'll
Yeah.
remake herself until it is beautiful again.
Yeah. Well, I happen to believe we're transcending. So all of us, all the animals, all the oceans, the nature, the earth, the humans, all of us are coming to a whole new place of possibility for who we are and what we can be and what this planet can be. And I think it's a beautiful thing. And I'm sourcing that future along with many other people around the world. And it's because of that that I can hold a view that this is transcendence, not catastrophe. You know?
But it's a big one to wake up every day and to be able to do that anew. I have the days when there's a couple of challenges out there in the world at the moment that are kind of, some days I wake up and I think, I drop into the fear response that this is going to take things away from me. This is going to mean I can't do this. And then a couple of days later, I just shake my head and go, no, but no one can take from me what I'm not prepared to give.
Yeah.
So I will not let them take my optimism.
Well,
I'm going to find a way through this. I will find a different way to do it. I will work this out.
It's funny
And
because
then
when I
and then
first met,
things pop in when you've changed your mindset.
yeah,
You start to notice that actually, well, if I did this and if I did that, then it wouldn't be so bad.
because once you come out of that place, ideas pop. I was
Yeah.
going to say too, when I first met my husband back in 1996, we had 75 pounds in the bank and lived in a tent for 2 weeks and were virtually homeless. It was the best time of my whole life. So I'm not so gripped by those things anymore.
Yeah.
There's a kind of a relationship with life. And I really believe when you're doing stuff for the universe, source, whatever you want to call that, it has your back.
Yeah.
And I've found that to be true over the last 25 years. It just always has my back. Things always turn out, no matter what it looks like.
Yes.
Always.
But maybe that's the trick, is that you're not too fixated on exactly how it's going to turn out.
Oh, yeah.
You just find the current that's going in the right direction and jump on that.
Oh, yeah.
And it'll take you to a place, and then you're grateful for wherever you get to. And that's an amazing attitude.
I know. Well, as a quantum coach, that's kind of what I do for a lot of people, is I look down alternate pathways for them. So they know where they want to go often, or they know who they are and what they want to contribute. But then there's pathways of expression, and some pathways are really hard.
Yeah.
And other pathways are really light and easy and graceful. And so I try and point them onto the quantum pathways. Let's get this done fast and easy, let's have it.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of a way of playing with looking down the path to see what's there and what would best suit them and what would bring it into life in the best ways, so yeah.
And having a belief that the hard way isn't necessarily always the right way, because I think some people who come from a difficult childhood, a difficult background, are used to fighting things.
Yeah.
And that letting go and allowing yourself to have the easy path sometimes feels like you're kind of letting the side down because you're not working hard enough for this. You don't deserve it because you've not put in the hours. But yes, for me, I often, Julian says I have a back brain, that someone will give me an idea, something to think about. I pop it into my back brain, and then when I'm ready to do it, I just sit down and type, and it's done.
Yeah.
And I haven't done anything consciously between being given the idea and producing the piece of work. I've just allowed myself to notice things. I've allowed things I already know to come in. And so by the time I'm ready to put it together, there's no effort involved in my work.
It's interesting you say that, because in the last couple of weeks, I've been talking about effortless abundance and effortless opportunities. And you take this call, for example. So 2 weeks ago, I think I probably said, okay, I'm willing to be more of a voice for something. And I've been invited within a couple of days to 3 different calls on podcasts with people. I didn't even ask for it. I didn't say it. I didn't put it out anywhere. It just all happened. And I'm like, yeah, that works for me. I love it when it happens like that. It's so natural. I like to let the universe surprise me.
But it's you get happy surprises. You're not getting the kind of surprises that people fear.
Yeah.
Because you just pick up the one that goes, oh, that's shiny. We'll have that one. Thank you very much.
Exactly. So I don't plan stuff out anymore. I try not to put too much, everybody thinks you need to plan and make goals and stuff. And I am very much in the moment, spontaneous now, and that seems to work quite effortlessly for me. Just as you said, you set something in motion, it all comes together, and then poof, it just comes out of you. If you're typing, it just comes out of your fingers. That happens for me a lot. I don't have to. That's why I could write a book in 3 weeks, for example, and do other things.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Because it's all there. You're channeling it from somewhere. It's coming from a place of the greater wisdom that we're all part of, if we let ourselves be.
Exactly.
So I was going to say, what are your plans for the rest of the year? But you don't have any.
No.
We will find them out as we go along.
Find them out. I will probably do another global wave at New Year's with.
That was great fun. I loved that.
Yeah, I like doing that. So because all of our consciousness people all over the world, and they go New Zealand, Australia, Malaysia, India, UK, Europe, over to the US, Canada, South America. They're all over the place. So we do this at midnight, everybody's time, and we keep linking up, and we do this big consciousness wave to take us into the new year. So I'll probably do one of those, open to anybody, basically. Yes. So I'll probably do one of those. But
so if people want to join in, where can they find out about that?
Oh, I haven't put it in place yet, but it'll be on my timeline when I do. It'll be an event from my Facebook timeline. So
if you want to connect with Soleira, she's all over Facebook, loads of groups, the thing I love about you is that you initiate things, you spin the plate, you get people engaged, and then you can move on and do something else, but somehow the plate still stays spinning. So there's bits of your consciousness all over the place that you've done wonderful things of bringing people together.
One thing I decided a long time ago is I want my timeline to be me. Yeah. And so I created a group called Orgasmic Nature Collective. Because
the stuff in there is insane.
Because I see the spectacular nature stuff, and I just post 3, 4, 5 things a day that I see. And then there's Future Fantastic, which is all the technology innovation. Yeah. And then there's, I've just got a ton of groups, on all kinds of topics. But that's how I move things and keep us all interconnected, even though I could just stick it all on my timeline, but I think it'd just be too confusing, So
I think things need a home, because I think and a bit of focus sometimes. But the thing I enjoyed about the Miraculous Maestros group when I was part of that was that we were giving each other that the gift of our time and our consciousness together to see what we can do together. Yeah, and that was really precious.
Exactly.
And I've just looked at my watch, and time has gone. That's it.
I know.
In a moment. Soleira, as always, an absolute joy to talk to you.
Oh, and you too. Fabulous.
And I will be there at midnight on New Year's Eve, but I hope to speak to you sometime before that as well.
Fantastic. Thanks a lot for this. I've loved every second.